Hey, what's going on, parents? Happy Teenager Tuesday.
Let's go.
Will Perry, lead student pastor here at Hope, is back to talk about a parent's guide to failure in part 3. If you've missed parts 1 and 2, go back, listen to those, listen to me talk about failure and how important it is and what we could do as parents to help our students navigate this. And with me today is the one, the only, Savannah Pope.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
For those parents out there who don't know who Savannah Pope is, who are you?
I am the Frisco West Student Pastor.
Frisco West Student Pastor. Still newish to that. About a month?
Yeah.
Right?
About a month at that point.
About a month at this. Yeah. So she's going to be with me, with us on the podcast for the next couple weeks, talking about failure. This week, I'm going to start by talking about this. Administrators at Stanford and Harvard, they've maybe for a little bit now, they've coined this phrase, failure deprived, when it comes to college students who come in and experience, they would say moderate levels of failure. Like nothing, no failure is good. You get a bad grade or you're stressed out or because you booked too much on your plate or something, or you don't get a job or something. They would say these moderate levels of failure are overwhelming college age students, where they don't know what to do. They go back home, they drop out of school, and the phrase to describe these college students is failure deprived. Meaning, hey, they should have had some more failure before college, which I don't know about you, Savannah. I was very privy to a lot of failure before college.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, and this, again, according to them, is anything from there's college students who, instead of making a perfect A plus, they just got a B plus. And they saw this as my life is ending. I'm a failure. Kind of how we talked about in previous podcast about it. People seeing that as failure as an identity piece, not something to go through and to manage, which leads us to this $1 million question, one of the $1 million questions on this podcast, that parents, you might be thinking is, wait, shouldn't I be protecting my kids from failure? And now you're telling me that if I do, then they need more failure because later it's worse?
Yeah. I mean, that's such a good question. I think so many parents, it's not a bad thing to want to protect your kid from failure, not at all. And I think probably all of us, so many people we love, we want to protect them from failure. There's actually this book by Jessica Lahey, the author of The Gift of Failure, right? Yeah. She talks about these connections between supporting, having a parent that's not completely totally independent, helping them learn navigating that tension of how do I let them fail while also giving them autonomy to do certain things, and persevering what she actually calls desirable difficulties, right? She argues that overparenting, completely removing those obstacles, helicopter parents, not necessarily, maybe some people can relate to that, but it argues that overparenting, it can result in helplessness, basically. Our kids don't know what to do because we're constantly taking away those obstacles or taking away those failures rather than giving them the opportunity to fail. And even in classroom settings, she points this out, the kids who are used to directing themselves or doing things on their own, they can helping them encounter those frustrations, helping them work through those things, allowing them to push towards creativity, problem solving, all of these awesome things that come out of when you experience failure or difficulty, frustration, whatever those things, helping them persevere a lot, and they won't give up. And so even though it feels counterintuitive to let them fail, we don't want them to fail. We don't want them to give
It'll
up.
Make them feel bad.
Exactly. Yeah, true. Absolutely.
Some bad is not bad.
Exactly. You said this once, and I say it all the time, difficult things or hard things are not bad things, right? It's natural. Again, we want people to succeed. We want our students to succeed, avoid pain, rejection, all those kinds of things naturally, right? But there has to be places where they can fail, a safe place, they can experiment, and there is a safe place to do that. And I feel like we can, as parents, or provide those kind of spaces for them as well, and for them to do that just naturally on their own, right? Doing things maybe the way that we think it would happen or a better way to do it. If we just constantly solve those things for them or step in all the time, right, we may be prohibiting them from like learning to do that once they step into college. And then like we see, if we don't let them do that, like you talked about, they're failure deprived, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little bit like this freedom muscle that you kind of have to exercise. And the best way that you get exercising on your wisdom, using your freedom for wisdom exercise is to go till failure. You know, it's like a bodybuilder once told me that they do reps until failure every time because it just grows the muscle much larger. Like, that's good. There are obviously lines to this because a 13-year-old not studying for a test is pretty different than like an 18-year-old making a like very illegal mistake that will be on their permanent record and charged as an adult or whatever. So there's obviously levels to this, which really leads us to a big question that we're going to finish out and go a little bit quickly for the rest of this episode is, okay, how then, cool, failure, got to do it, bites, it's better for them, let them fail. Here's the question, how can I teach my kids to own their failures? Not just be like it's someone else's mistakes, but how can they own their failures and it not be something that tears them apart, but can help them build up. We have 4 things for that. One, to teach students that they have a starting point. Everybody has a starting point, and that's not bad. Like, it's a mindset of, here's where I'm at right now, and I can grow to get better. Versus, okay, this is where I'm at right now, and I had to fix me because I'm a failure. Dr. Carol Dweck, she said this in her book, New Psychology of the New Psychology of Success. She said, traits are not simply a hand you're dealt. Traits are not simply a hand you're dealt and have to live with. Always trying to convince yourself and others that you have a royal flush when secretly you're worried that you only have a pair of 10s. In a growth mindset, the hand you're dealt is just a starting point for development. The growth mindset is based on belief that your basic qualities are things that you can cultivate and grow with your own efforts. And that is a much better starting point than you're ignorant, you're dumb, and you need to fix being dumb. Like, no, this is where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Or even going, it has to look exactly, starting at the end point too. Like, you got to just constantly focusing on, it has to look a certain way. Number 2, emphasize effort over ability. All right, going back to Carol here, she's an excellent teacher, right? Her research on mindsets, many teachers have started to give more importance to students' efforts rather than like their innate ability, right? This is particularly important for students who are in middle school, all the way through university, right? These like older age, young adult, teenage years. As a result of this research, it's shown that children, as they get older, they tend to value ability over their effort, which, that's effort is great, ability is great, but when we emphasize that effort, right, we can encourage, one way you can encourage your student or your students, provide specific feedback. If there's things that maybe they show you something or you're working with them on something, they're going to do this thing, provide specific feedback that help them recognize and praise their effort. It shows, studies have shown students who receive specific feedback, they're not only more motivated to succeed, but they also then believe that they can succeed, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, which is big. Number 3, discuss previous failures. If you never talk about failure at home, then it could be seen as something that should never happen. But if you talk about it, if you bring it up, even bringing some of that up with them is like, hey, do you remember when this happened? Man, you've grown so much from that. Like, it's not, you have to lecture them. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Again. Like, not all the time, although there are some places for that.
Yeah.
But just talking about failure can help avoid it being seen as you lose, you defeat, I'm the worst, and more so as, okay, failure can propel me forward to grow.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a perfect point on to number 4. Just what is your relationship, and is it an encouraging one, right? Like, is all your conversations with your students and constantly Maybe is it more lecturing, and how can you then work on just encouraging them, right? They want to please you. Your kids, they want to know what you think about them. And so ask any of their teachers or their coaches, maybe people around them, like, what are some things you love about them, and encouraging them, bringing those things to the surface, right? And a great relationship with you as the parent, it's the number one thing that's going to help them fail well, that you're a safe person they can talk to about those things.
Yeah, because everybody needs somebody to express to.
Yeah.
And parents are the best place to express and process. Because they'll express with their friends too, but we try to encourage young people, hey, don't process with your friends. They know as much as you do. Process with your parents, with a mentor. Parents, we're going to keep talking about failure next week in the last part of navigating or a parent's guide to failure with your kids. For now, signing off, you can do this. You're not alone. God is with you, and so are we. Have a great week.
Bye.